Hello everyone and welcome to Power Hour. This is our show. Today is going to be about SharePoint document sets. So you all voted for this topic. It is a type of content type in SharePoint where it lets you create a folder content type that has metadata, and the metadata trickles down to all of the files that you put in that folder. So it's kind of a little known feature. We'll dive in and create one from scratch. Here's the stinger. All right, so document sets are something in SharePoint. They're a little bit obscure and a little bit kind of hidden and tucked away in there, but they're extremely useful. So today I'm going to show you an existing one that I created and show you what it looks like, how it works, and then I'll go ahead and create a new one and just completely from scratch and show you all the different pieces involved. And we'll talk about why you'd want to use document sets. Just off the top of my head, just the very first, just most obvious reason to use document sets is to be able to have metadata that you put at a folder level. And then when you place files in that folder, they all get that same metadata. So what's the point of metadata? Well, when you have metadata, that's all the column information in a SharePoint library. When you have that set up on all of your files, that's actually more relevant than when people are doing searches in SharePoint. The information that's in the metadata of the files is actually going to be the first most important relevant thing that search is going to find those files on. So besides just the file name, it gives you the ability to have all this other information about the files. So when you have document sets, you don't have to do this tedious going through each individual file and giving them the same metadata. If you drop it in, set up maybe a set of project files. And so everything about this project just gets dropped into this document set, and then all the files related to that project get all the metadata about that project. So projects is a good example. That's what we're going to start with. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Here is this is a document library in SharePoint, and I've created a document set. So first I'm just going to show you what it looks like. And so here in this library I'll just kind of refresh this. This is where we've been kind of playing around. I have just a document floating out here by itself. I have a regular folder that's, because I just kind of wanted to visually show you what the difference is between document sets and folders. And then I have these projects, Bikes R Us, Project Contoso Adventure, Project for Cats, Test Projects. So I have, like for example, Project Contoso Adventure. I'll click on that, and again, just like a folder, then I go and I see all the files in that folder. But if I go back up, so notice I have all this metadata about the projects, like project start, project end, project department. So I'll go to Project Contoso Adventure, and I'll just edit. I can just go to this little details pane over here, and I'll just edit the metadata about that project. So I'll just do something really quick, like I'll put a project end date, and I'll put a project department, and then save that. So now these columns over here that didn't have anything in them, now they're filled in. So now when I go into this folder, now look at that, all the files in that folder now have all that metadata applied to them automatically. So that's one of the main things you get with a document set. You can do something like there's a flow action that we'll talk about where it will create a document set for you. So you could say, when I create this item over here in this list, have it automatically create a document set. You can set up a document set so that it's got, if you have a bunch of specific content types you're using, say for a project where you have like a project charter template and a project, some kind of Excel file and project PowerPoint presentations, and you have a specific content types all defined, then those would be when you're in that document set, then you would have all your different document set, your content types that belong in that document set that would all be listed here. So those are a couple of just the main reasons to use that and kind of what it looks like. So now I'm going to switch over, and just let me know in the chat if you have any questions. and we'll talk kind of a little bit more. We'll brainstorm and talk about, you know, reasons and examples of why you use these. So the first thing you do is you have I'm going to go to site information here, and then site settings. And it has a feature that you have to turn on first. So you're not just going to be able to create document sets just right out of the box. You have to go to Site Collection Administration section over here and Site Collection Features in your site where you want to use the document sets. Now, here's my feature. I have to activate it. Now, if you are using a content type hub in your organization, you can also do this at the content. You can create document sets at the content type hub like any other content type as well. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to have time to get into that more of a that aspect of it in this demo, but just kind of keep that in mind. If you already know what a content type hub is and you're using one, that you could do that there. You would just have to, you'd still have to enable this document sets feature on that content type hub site and on any other site that you want to use this content type document sets. So it's still, and you know, enabling features is something that you could potentially do with PowerShell as well, if you wanted to do that automatically. All right, so document sets is now enabled. So now I'll be able to create document sets. So where do I do that? So where I have to create the document set is, now you could, I'm not going to create one directly in a library just yet. I'm going to create it as a content type. So creating it as a content type is the best practice. So I go back to site information and go back to all site settings here. And then I go to my site content types. And in my site content types, I'm just going to create a new content type. Now, my example before was project files. So we're kind of brainstorming other examples of using, you know, kind of what to do with these. A lot of legal contracts, legal different concepts like that. And think about anything you're doing in SharePoint where you have a set of files maybe related to a customer, related to a product of yours, related to a project, related to a legal client. So I'll just create one for contracts because that's another big common one besides project files. So I'll just say contract document set. And then I'll just say, this category is really, if you've never worked with content types before, this category is really just for you, just in organizing your content types. So I'll just call my category Power Hour. And I'll say my parent category, this is important. So when you're creating the content type, you have to be sure to select the parent category of document set content types. And then within that, there's only one content type document set. So I'll just click create. And then now I have a contract document set. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is decide what that metadata needs to be. What kind of metadata, what kind of information do we have about the contracts? So I'll just say maybe a customer. And again, I'll just call this column category Power Hour. And then my customer is just going to be a single line of text. And so it's just like creating columns. These are just going to be the columns that exist in your document set. What else do we have around a contract? We have maybe what department they're working with. So let's see, I'll do a status. So I'll create a new site column and I'll just say contract status. And what's one more? Y'all tell me in the chat what you think I should put in here for another column for my content type. And the contract status is going to be a choice. So again, these are all just the same types of columns that we're used to. I'll just say not started, in progress, completed, or on hold. That's a good one. All right, so those are my different contract statuses. And what else do we have? Oh, a contact person. That's a great one. Oh, maybe it's like an internal, maybe I want to put an internal person, like a contract, like the person that's like the liaison for that contract. So yeah, I'll do both of those. So I'll say contract liaison. And that can be a person. And this got all just the same settings you would have when you're creating columns. And then I'll just call this I'll just make it really simple and call it contact email. So contact email. And put my power hour. And I'll just make that a single line of text since it's going to be an external person. And then it already has the title. It's got a file name and description. So everything's going to have a description. A document that's going to automatically have a description. Okay, so are you ready? This is so cool. Here's what you do next. So you have document set settings here. So a lot of other content types don't have this, but you have document set settings. This is where the magic happens. So when I create this document set, remember I showed you a minute ago, you click on that folder, document set folder, and then you go click the new drop down, and then it's going to have, all mine had in it was to create a new document. Well, this is where you could put if you had multiple like custom content types that you were using relating to a project, again, like a project PowerPoint presentation, a project charter template. Those, I don't have enough bandwidth in this power hour today to teach content types from scratch. But if you have content types related to, in this case, contracts, then you could add them all here. And so I'm just going to leave it at document, but it gets really cool when you do that. It's pretty fancy. All right, so then I have, what is my default content type? So if I've added multiple content types here, then it's going to say, what is just the default? Like if somebody just uploaded a document straight into that folder, what would the content type be? So I can just choose document, and then I can say, what is the folder name? So I could say, create different folders inside of here and upload them directly in here. So I could actually put the files, if I want files to automatically be in that document set, I can do that. So let me see, I've got like demo content here. I'll just say, I've got a project charter in here, fake project charter there. So I'm adding this document. So I just put it in the root here, and it's fake project charter. So if you wanted to have, and that's, of course, that's project related, but if you wanted to have for your contracts, all the files already in the folder when the document set gets created. I see that happen a lot, especially with projects where people just create a project folder and they just want all the project files to be in the folder. This is a way that you can do that. And then we've got shared columns. So select which column value should automatically be synced to all documents in the set. This is where I showed you where I set the content type, I set the properties, the metadata on that folder, and then opened it up and saw that all the files had also inherited that metadata. So this is where you can set that up. If you don't want something to propagate down to all the files inside it, you can uncheck it. So I'll just uncheck this one. Welcome page, I think that's kind of antiquated. I haven't even found a way in the modern interface to get to the welcome page. That kind of used to be like a classic thing. So if anybody knows, if there is still a welcome page, it's very obscure. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about the content type, the document set welcome page. And then this is update all site and listed content types inheriting from this content type with the settings on this page. So if I am currently working on a document set that already is in use, then I can uncheck this box, maybe if I don't want all my changes to immediately propagate down. So I'll go ahead and save that. And now I have a new document set for contracts. So Now the document set exists. Now I have to decide where I want to use that document set. So I'll go ahead and I'll navigate back up to my site. And just to keep things nice and neat and clean and simple, I'll just create a brand new document library, and I'll call it blank library, and I'll just call it contracts. And create. And then once we have a library, now content types exist in lists also, but document sets are for document libraries. Okay, so I'll go to library settings, go to more library settings. You can tell it's a lot of steps, right? It's not something you're just going to stumble upon in here. So allow management of content types, I changed that to yes, so that I could then add my document set content type to this library. So now by default in a library, the only content type is document. I'll go ahead and say add from existing site content types. And notice that it just has just the regular columns that any library would just have by default. Add from existing site content types. Here it is right here, contract document set. Okay, maybe it just wasn't listed in this little grouping. Okay, that's just me. I just didn't see it. It was there. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Mark. All right, so now I have the content types are there. Notice that now that I've added that content type, then I've got all those columns that I created for the contract, and they are now in my library. So now a couple of extra things I'm going to want to do is when somebody clicks the new dropdown, I don't want them to click folder. I want them to create a contract document set instead of a folder. So you can always control whether or not people can create folders in your library by going to the advanced settings and just saying make new folder command available, say no. And so turn that off just to give people less options. And also I can uncheck document so that when people are just in the library like this, it's just really simple contract document set. Now you'll notice that this is kind of ugly. This is that classic. So document sets have not been modernized. So this is kind of an ugly interface, and it's kind of like a classic interface. So I'll just call this the ABC contract. And then this is where you'd put your description. I'm literally just copying and pasting text out of the chat so I don't have to sit here typing stuff. Okay, and then I've got customer name, ABC customer, and then the contract status not started. I'll just be the contract liaison. Oops, that's my external. Let me do my, I've got too many email addresses, goodness. There we go. Okay, and then this would be like your customer, the actual customer email address. So now I have a, ooh, what did, oh yeah. Okay, so it took me straight into the document set when I created it. It's like I'd already clicked on the folder and I was inside of it. So now here I'm in my library called contracts. I've got ABC contracts, and I'm not automatically showing all the columns that I added. So I'll go ahead and add those to my view. Contract status, I'll do description, contract liaison, contract email. Yeah, some good ones. Oh, customer name was another one. So now I have, it's interesting, it didn't show the description that I typed in, that big long description, but okay. So here, these are all the columns that I filled in, and now when I go in here, it's going to have, this is that document that I put in the content type when I created the document set content type. Now it already has my fig project charter. So now it did have an option. Now I'm just going to go back in another window. I'm going to show you again another option in here that you might want to consider using, and that is going to be Document set settings. Okay, right down here, add the name of the document set to each file name. You might want to do this because, look, when I had the files, I had put the files already in the document set, and so that it was there already. Now, next time I create another document set, it'll have a file name that's exactly the same, fake project charter. So I probably would want to add the name of the document set to each file name so that these files that it's creating automatically just are different than each other, obviously. So all the different fake project charters and all the different document sets don't have the exact same name. So now I'll go ahead and say, all right, I have my document set. I'll go ahead and upload some demo files. I'll just pick a few things here. It's my random demo files. And so now notice that they just all get the metadata automatically. So that's all my ABC contract metadata, and all the documents inside of it get that. So then I could create another new document set here. I'll just create one more. I am not very creative. And customer name. I'll be in progress. And okay, I'll leave that alone. All right. And then also, and I demonstrated this a minute ago, when you change the metadata on that document set, that folder, it then automatically propagates down. When you add new files to it, they automatically get it. So it all just works in sync. So then when I click the new dropdown, when I'm in this document set, all the different document content types that I defined when I was building the document set, let me go back. I'll show you that again. Like right here, content type documents. If I had other content types that I wanted to exist in here, I could have added them here, and then those would all be listed in this dropdown right here. So for me to, instead of, you don't necessarily have to have it automatically create all the files in there. You could just have it in the new dropdown to go create new, other files related to that contract. Sure. And I'll just rename it test contract file and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now it's saving my just random file I just created, and I'll go back, exit out of there. And so there's my test contract file. Now, when I set up that setting for it to automatically put the name of the content type, the name of the document set in front of the file name, it's not going to do that when I upload files. It's just going to do that for all those files that it creates automatically if I have any of those in there. Lisa says we have an Excel content type that's a template for sales reps to use for deal approval in the library. And so that's the only thing they can create. So notice what I did here. I made it so you can't directly just create a new file. Now, technically, you could just upload one. But we had another power hour where we talked about how to modify the SharePoint toolbar. So if you didn't want somebody to click that upload button, you could modify the toolbar. People can still drag files in there too, though. So there's a lot of ways to get files into SharePoint. But so you notice that document isn't here, but when I go into a content type, then document is there. So I only want them to be able to create those inside of that document set. Another cool thing we have about document sets is the ability to save a version of the whole document set. So check out ABC contracts. I'll just click on that one. If you've got a couple of different options here that, like, especially capture version, you're not going to see that in other content types. So if I click capture version, this is going to just say, all right, this is the first set of files. You just give a comment when you capture the version. Watch this. This is cool. All right, so now I have captured the version of the whole set of files. And it even tells me what version of files they are all on. So I've got all the metadata and I've got all the files. So versioning for a document set is going to show you all the times that you clicked capture version. So like if I go edit one of these, I'll just go edit a file real quick. I'll change that date there. Edited a file. So now technically that should be version 2.0 of that file. Now I can go capture my ABC contract, capture the version again, second time. Isn't that cool? Yeah, that's very cool. And now it's got, this is my second version. Notice, see, it says this is Contoso dress code version 2. So if I want to revert, just like reverting any document history in SharePoint, I can just go to this older version. And if I restore that older version, it's going to restore all of those files back to how they were in this first set of version 1 files. Interesting, huh? Okay, another thing you can do is you can you can use a Power Automate flow to create a document set. So I'll go into Power Automate and just on the home page of Power Automate, go to My Flows. So what's a good example? Think about some time where you might want to automatically have this document set created. So maybe I have a list of customers, or maybe I have a list of like a SharePoint list of projects where I have all these details about projects. Maybe I want to have, when I create a new project in the list, maybe I want it to create a new document set for that project just automatically. So let's see, let me think of a good look at just some of the lists that I already have in here. Customer contacts, there we go. I'll just say, just since this list already exists, I'll just say when I create a new customer contact, I want it to automatically go create a document set. So I'll create a flow, new flow, skip. And then my trigger is going to be, let's see, I need to add SharePoint to my little list of favorites here. And when an item is created. And that's my Power Hour site, and that is my customer contacts list. All right, so this is going to trigger when an item is created. And let's see, new customer contact creates doc set. There, that's the name of the flow. And then the action is SharePoint create new document set right here. So this is the only document set action. So I'll go ahead and create that. So my library is, I have to tell it what library to create that in. So this is, of course, my contracts library. And then if my document set needs to have a specific path. So maybe if I have a hierarchy of folders in there, which I don't recommend having a ton of folders. If you have a hierarchy of folders, then you could like define where you want it to go. So I'll just leave this, I'll just say the root, it can just create it at the root folder. And then the ID of that content type is going to be my contract document set. So as soon as I pick the name of my document set, then it's going to prompt me with the metadata that's in that document set. So I've got my title, description, etc. So I've got, let's see, I want my contract status to be not started. I want my contract liaison. I could fill it, and that's that people picker. My contract email could be the email address of my new customer. So you can take, of course, metadata from the customer and put that in here as your, let's see, full name is what I have. I could put as the title, customer name. Do I have a company in here? I don't have a customer name in here. I'll just put the, company, there we go. And then I can describe my document set. So I'll just say that's good. It's good enough. So when items created, create new document set. Another thing that you can do if you want to update a document set and update the metadata automatically via a flow, you can go to the update file properties. And so update file properties is the action that you would use if you needed to use a flow to go change the metadata in a document set. So just like updating any file properties or updating an item, you need to provide the ID of the thing that you want it to update. But I just wanted to show you that action. Let me just delete that. I just wanted to show you that action while we were in here. All right, so save that. And then we'll go test it out. Everybody in the chat is talking about end users and getting them to do this and like the training involved. Hopefully it's not too painful for you. This is, I love the way it just creates all the folder, all that, all the stuff for you. Okay, customer contacts, I'll just create a new one. George Jetson. Company. There. Okay, and that should trigger my flow. Now, something that you're going to benefit from in having metadata on all your files is the fact that if you have metadata on all your files, then you can slice and dice and filter and sort off that metadata and not worry about all the folders. So technically they could all still be in folders, but it gives you the ability to look at your document library in a flat view and ignore the folders. So I'll do that next. Ooh, it failed. That's awesome. I probably put some weird like type of path for the, oh yeah, I put a little backslash in there and I should have just left it blank. Let me see my path. Just ignore that. That's weird. I didn't do that in the last one that I did. Hold on, let me double check. My modern demo. I'm gonna double check because I just created this flow before we went live, and this one worked. So I want to see what I put in that other one. Oh, so for the document set path, I put the title of the item. Okay, that makes sense. That's going to be what the document set is called. Okay. So in this case, the title it's really just a full name column that list is using as the title. So that's fine. All right, try that again. I'll just test it. Just run it as a test. And go. It's much faster testing it than it is having to create something new. Okay, so now I'll go to my, refresh this, go to my contracts. And now there's George Jetson, the one that just automatically got created. So, and here's my data that I had that I passed through via the flow that I had it create. And then it automatically created my fake project charter. I noticed that it didn't automatically put that document set name at the beginning like I set it up to do. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. But yeah, it got my metadata that I had passed down. Now I wasn't passing the contact email down. I did not check that box because I wanted to show you what it looks like where you could have, different metadata that you don't necessarily have to pass down to all the files. So there we are. So it has the customer name, contract status, all the stuff that I set up. Now, another benefit to having, so we'll talk kind of philosophically about, why you would want to do this and what the benefits are. One thing that I love doing anytime I come across a document library that's got a bunch of folders in it, I just want to find what I want to find. I don't want to have to go dig down folders, back up, go dig down, click, 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 just to go drill through all the folders to find something. I just want to see all the files in there. And so if you've taken our training at IW Mentor, our SharePoint training, you probably saw the module where I give an example. I give this example and kind of talk about metadata and talk about the flat file structure and the difference between folders and metadata and why you'd want to use metadata. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new view, and I'm just going to call it no folders. Oops, where did it go? And then I'm going to go edit my view in my library settings. No folders, because the setting that I'm going to show you here you can't get to in the modern interface. Go to folders here and you say show all items without folders. Now look at that. I've got all my files. It's still showing me those document sets, but it's just a big flat view of all my files that are just in the library. And then that way I can go filter and sort and go find things, like if I want to only see the things that are in progress and I just want to see those files, then they're all right there. So that's one of the big benefits of metadata. So now let's talk a little bit more about just why you would want to do this, why you would want to create these document sets and implement something like this, like what really is the benefit. So I'm going to kind of summarize all the things that we've been talking about, and feel free to ask questions in the chat. So first of all, think about any time you need to have folders and groups of files related to one thing, like a project or a contract. So it gives you the ability to have this collection of documents and then have the metadata on that collection of documents, because usually a folder doesn't have metadata. So, and it gives you just this consistency. So when you upload new files to it, they get the metadata. When you change the metadata at the folder document set level, it propagates down. It all just stays in sync. And so it keeps that consistency. So having metadata, all these columns, having this information about all your files improves the findability and search in SharePoint. So users, of course, you can sort and filter by metadata like I'm showing you, but SharePoint search, Microsoft 365 search, it honors metadata, and it actually has higher relevance than just all the words that are in the file. So metadata, that's another reason metadata is important. We had that cool versioning at the document set level that I showed you, where you can capture a version. Now you do manually have to capture this version, but you can capture the version of the entire set of documents in that moment. You can create a document set via Flow. You can have your document set so that it already has certain content types in it. You can have it so that it already has certain actual files in it, which you can upload into the document set. You can declare an entire document set as a record for compliance and retention. And then you just have this automation potential too, with being able to create a document set from a flow, and also having a flow to use the update file properties to change a file, a document set if you like. And then of course, you can immediately just look at a file and know all the information about that contract or that project. So we're going to think about some just kind of reasons that you would, examples. So I know you all have been kind of brainstorming some examples just in the chat, and coming up, you all have even given us examples of times that you've used content types in your organization. So I'm just going to kind of list a few things here. You have the ability to do projects. You have the ability to do contracts, like we've showed, client engagement files for like consulting, legal, or marketing. You could do legal case files. You could have just the name of your case is the document set, and all the case files could go in it. You have maybe personnel files. You could have maybe a folder for each person if you need a set of files for each employee. Think about maybe marketing campaigns or product development. You could have a folder or document set for each product. You can think about like construction or engineering projects where you have a lot of different maybe CAD files and things like that, blueprints. Training programs, course development. Each document set could be a course. So procurement and vendor bids, grant or funding applications, audit files. So again, just so many ideas. So hopefully that's kind of getting the wheels turning and getting you kind of thinking about how document sets can benefit you. And remember that just real quick, a summary of the steps. You enable the document set feature in your site collection properties, your site collection settings, and then you go to the document content types, and you create the document set as a content type, and then you go to a library and create a document set. Now you can just directly in a library create a document set content type, but to have that whole manage content type interface, it's just a much better experience when you create it in the content type, the list of content types for your site first before adding it to your library. And remember also that if you're using a content type hub at work, you could have the document set created there, which would enable you to propagate that down through the whole, all the sites potentially. And then you just have to remember to enable that document set feature on all the sites where you want to be able to use the document sets. So let's see. Lisa said something about the left side navigation specific to specific document sets. Are you saying you want to create a navigation link to a specific document set? I guess you could just get a link to one and copy a link and put that as navigation. Maybe, I'm not sure if that's what you're asking. Can a flow be written that will capture the version? Back in the old SharePoint Designer workflows, there was an action that existed that would capture a document set version. That doesn't exist in Power Automate though, unfortunately. Any other questions? Let's see. And people are just kind of talking about end users and getting them to use this. So yeah, I'm glad that we revisited this. Let me switch it back to our other view here. I'm glad that we revisited this, and then it kind of got me talking about it because I actually have a couple of projects that I'm working on right now that I'm realizing that this would be there would be a good couple of places to implement this. And it's just one of those things that it kind of like, it's kind of hidden. It's not in the forefront. Everybody doesn't think about it all the time necessarily, but it's like hopefully it's kind of getting the wheels turning for you and get you thinking how you could use these and how it could benefit your organization by having all this metadata on your files and having this nice hierarchy set up. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thanks everybody for coming, and remember that our company is IW Mentor, and we teach all these products, Microsoft 365 products like SharePoint, Power Automate, Power Apps, Teams, Copilot. All that is at iwmentor.com, and that is also where you can go click schedule at the top and see our schedule of upcoming Power Hours. And you can follow me on YouTube at Wonder Laura. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Joelle.